to yet another class of 6th standard English. Hope you all are safe. Myself, ASWATHY. In previous classes, you learned about Raja, Raja's home, Raja's surrounding, Raja's family members, etc. And also we discussed about his wish to shoot the sandalwood tree and also the after events that occurred. In today's class, we are going to deal with the rest of the chapter. The news spreads.
Students, now look at the 15th page of your textbook. The news spreads. Then grandfather stood up and went outside and called aloud, "Come, Raja, come. I won't beat you." But I did not answer him, for I thought that he would beat me. Grandmother was angry and said, "He won't come. You drove him away. I heard you say that you would beat him if he came home. Poor child, he is afraid of you and has run away." Grandfather called the servants and asked them to go out and look for me. They went out, but after a while returned to say that they could not find me. Grandmother started weeping. Grandfather started walking up and down the courtyard. The news that I was missing spread. Our neighbors came first, then our relatives, and then the others who had heard the bad news. Many came to offer their sympathies to grandmother. Grandfather did not like this. He shouted, "Nothing has happened to the boy. He is hiding somewhere. Can't some of you go out and find him instead of wasting your time here?" Some of them went out to search for me. More and more people came, and soon there was a big crowd. By now, grandmother had lost all hope of seeing me again. He started telling the people what a good boy I was. The search parties returned without finding me. Grandmother started weeping loudly. The women in the crowd also wept. The servants of the house joined in the wailing. They all acted as if I were dead. I felt very sorry for grandmother. I wanted to come out. Grandfather was a man of strong will, but I knew that he too felt very sad. He did not, however, lose hope. He stood up, turned in the direction of our family temple, and prayed. "Help me, God," he said. "Give me child. I want him now. I cannot wait any longer." He then stood silent in prayer. At that moment, Uncle returned. He learned what was happening at home. He looked around and guessed where I was. He came to the cowshed and asked me to come down. I came down. Uncle took me into the house. Grandfather had just finished his prayers and turned. As he opened his eyes, he saw me standing before him. He took me up in his arms in joy, hugged me and said, "God heard my prayers and has given you back to us."
The news that Raja was missing spreads everywhere in the village. Hearing the news, the relatives, the neighbors, and everyone in the village came to Raja's house, and they offered the sympathies to grandmother. The grandfather doesn't like all this. He asked them to look out for Raja rather wasting time there. As the time passed, the crowd before the house increased. The grandmother lost her hope that she can see him again. The persons who went for searching Raja came back, but they couldn't find him. The news that they couldn't find Raja made grandmother more upset. She started weeping loudly. The servant and the women around her started weeping along with grandmother. They all acted as if he was dead. Raja really felt sad seeing the miserable condition of the grandmother. Even though the grandfather had a strong will, he too lost his control and became sad. Grandfather turned to the direction of the family temple and started praying for Raja. At that moment, the uncle came to the house. He heard about the missing of Raja. He looked around and guessed where Raja was. He directly went to the cowshed and asked Raja to come down and took Raja to the house. As the grandfather finished his prayers, he turned and he saw Raja before him. He took Raja in his arms and thanked God for returning him back. Here ends the story. Do you like the story? Hope you all love this story. Now here is a work for you. Which part of the story did you like the most? Write a note on why you liked the story. Students, please send your answers to your respective teachers. I am winding up my class. See you in the next class.